Have you been thinking about hiring a nanny? It's a solution worth considering if you want to avoid daycare, especially if you have multiple children. But be aware that there are important tax requirements, and if they aren't followed, it can be considered tax evasion. But don't worry, we'll go over the basics of the requirements, how to manage them more easily, and we'll talk about the different options for finding a good nanny. Let's start with an overview of the requirements. If you hire a nanny or even a babysitter who watches your kids at your home and you pay them more than $2,700 throughout the year, they are considered a household employee by the IRS. And this is in 2024 tax numbers. Since you're considered an employer, you're required to pay them through payroll, where Social Security taxes, Medicare taxes, and income taxes are withheld. You're also responsible for paying the employer part of payroll taxes, as well as following the different state guidelines. This can include things like minimum wage requirements, overtime, and insurance requirements that vary by state, like workers' comp. I know it may seem like a lot, but it really is doable. You may be wondering, why is this a thing? These laws are in place to help nannies and caregivers gain eligibility to Social Security and Medicare benefits when they're older, as well as being able to file for unemployment if needed. It also helps your nanny to qualify for mortgages, auto loans, and other debt, because income is documented and verified. There are some other requirements, but before spending too much time on the details, let's talk about how to manage this. I recommend using a payroll service designed specifically for nannies and caregivers. They're usually affordable, and you can pay a monthly fee for them to administer tax filings and payroll for you. So now let's switch gears to finding a nanny. When it comes to finding a good nanny, there are two main options. You can hire a nanny independently, or you can use a nanny agency. Let's discuss the pros and cons of each. The upside of hiring independently is that it's typically more affordable than going through an agency. Other positives are that you may have a wider pool of applicants, and in general, you'll have more flexibility and control over how the process is managed. The downside is that you'll spend more time finding a nanny and managing the process. This part can feel overwhelming if you don't have a large community that can help connect you with a qualified nanny. There are nanny search websites that you can pay to gain access to, or social media pages, but these have hit or miss results. After interviewing applicants, you'll need to verify that the nanny is eligible to work in the United States, and you'll want to check references, perform a background check, and create a contract for employment before you onboard them to payroll. If you work with a nanny agency, the biggest upside is that you save time. Nanny agencies offer a placement service where they help you to find a nanny that fits with your family, and they manage the interviewing and hiring process for you. Some agencies also offer ongoing services for an additional cost, like continued training and education for your nanny, a backup service so that you have coverage if your nanny calls out, and resources for you as the employer. Note that you'll still need to use a separate payroll service on top of all of this. The downside of working with an agency is that it's more expensive. Essentially, you're paying more so the agency can take some of the responsibilities off of your plate. You also lose some of the flexibility and control over the process. For example, if you're paying for backup services and your nanny calls out, you may not have a choice with who fills in. A middle-of-the-road option, if you aren't able to find a nanny you like on your own, is to work with an agency to help you find a nanny, but then not pay for ongoing services. But be sure you understand the agency's return or replacement policy in case your nanny ends up not working out. A financial planner who specializes in working with young families can help you decide between these options, and they can help you to find a reputable nanny agency if that's the direction that you take. They can also recommend which payroll service to use and help you navigate all the guidelines. If you found this helpful, please subscribe to my channel.